Hello. If you clicked on this video, you're in luck. I'm starting a new podcast, and I'm going to be having on some of my friends, people I like, people I don't like, and we're just going to have conversations. It's something I'm doing for myself, something I enjoy. Today is the first episode, and I'm having my friend Kat Cow on. She is a film major with me at Penn State. Well, I'm not a film major, but we both go to Penn State. And yeah, I'm going to be basically talking to her about her life today. And so,
Amen.
Yeah. Kat, you were in LA this summer.
Yes, I was.
Correct? Yeah. So you were doing internships. It was your first time out in like a city you like always dreamed of living in and being in. So now that you're just snap back to reality, you're in Penn State. You told me you had like an incredible time while you were there.
Yeah.
How does it feel now just snapping straight back to reality here? Okay.
At first it was really hard actually. Like I got back and I was like, just everything here is so different. Like the culture, the lifestyle, like who you're with is just so different. And I think for me at first it was really tough to get over that and like kind of realize like, well, because another part of it was like, I did miss my friends so much here, you know, but I built this whole new life out in LA this summer. So like leaving that and having to go like this other life I have is just like, it's a complete 360. But I think with time, it's just like, it just feels normal again. But again, it's just like feeling it out and giving it time. When you first got to LA, who were the first people that like greeted you when you got there or like you saw, or what was your first impressions at least? I actually like hated LA at first. Like you told me, right? I FaceTimed you and I was like, this place sucks. Yeah. Like off the bat. But I think it was because like I just didn't know anyone at the time. Like I had like my one friend from high school, my best friend from high school. He ended up moving out there to do social media and stuff like that. So I had him out there, which was really helpful. But for that first month, I didn't really get to see him too much. So I think that was the tough part, was just like, and I didn't have a car either, which was really hard. But is LA like a tough place to be, you think, if you're on your own? Yeah, no, 100. Like, if you don't have anyone there that you know, if you are kind of on your own, it definitely takes some time to, like, grow your roots. And I think when everyone around you is just always making friends, like, everyone in LA is friends with everyone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely. So but I think there's a lot of beauty in it at the same time. But I think going there, not knowing anyone, not knowing where you are is just really difficult for anyone. Yeah, you can get closer to the mic. Oh, speak a little bit louder. But yeah, absolutely. I heard things about LA, like the people there, no one really like forms intimate or deep or meaningful connections, but everyone's super friendly. Everyone's super nice. And so it's like this weird facade that people have. They either love that or hate it. Well, I think that's also a misconception because I think it just depends on what circle you're in. Okay. Like, I think it's easy. Like, I still have people there that I met that like I didn't know if like, oh, like, are they going to keep talking to me? Are they not going to keep talking to me? But they did. You know what I'm saying? They're talking into it. Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think it definitely can feel like that sometimes. In LA, more than most places, people are just very friendly. Like, you're always meeting someone. But I think within meeting so many people, it gives you the opportunity to make really close relationships with certain people. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? It's a bigger pool, and it's like the same thing with like going to a big school. You know, like Penn State's a big school, but that you find a really special group of people. So the more people you have, obviously, the higher chances you have of meeting someone that you actually connect with. And like, what was a night that you were thinking about? Like, what was a night? I guess you would say like you were like, okay, these are my friends. Here's LA. I'm here. Oh. Ooh. I think it was probably. There was a night where my friend from high school took me to meet his friends, and we went to Griffith's Observatory, which is just like the most popular spot, honestly, in LA. La La Land is there, if you've seen that. But we went to this spot, and we just like hung out there. We just like watched the night sky, and it was, and we watched the skyline. It was just like, people just hanging out and just chilling. Afterwards, we went back to someone's apartment. We just like hung out. Like, we didn't do anything crazy. We just like talked with each other, and I think that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, like dope, like. These people actually just like to hang out. They're not like superficial, trying to like do all this stuff. Like, but they have like a certain following. Like, it does. Like, if you find the right people, like they don't care about that. They don't care who you are. That's so awesome. Yeah. Okay. I like it. But did LA at least live up to your dreams? Did it live up to your expectations in a way? I think it lived. I would say that it created its own expectation. Right. I love that. I had completely skewed perception of what LA was, and I think everyone does before they go out there. But it was incredible in a way that I didn't think it would be incredible.
Okay. That's really cool. And so you were actually there because you had an internship.
Yes.
Now, you are someone I know that's like so on top of everything she does. Like, I'm so admirable of that. Like, Kat is like always on top of schoolwork, film. She's in like 3 different clubs, right? She worked like 3 internships one summer after her freshman year. Like, I was like just in awe of this, right? And we met because we were on like a fencing team together. Like, you're involved in so much stuff. So when you were out there, you had this probably the biggest opportunity you've ever had or you've ever done. You were so excited to start this internship. I remember, like, what was that like? What was the first day of that like? At least tell me.
It was really intimidating. Like, because the thing is, you hear about all these people that are in LA, you hear how much power they have, and you don't really realize, like, how important that they are until you kind of get into it and you get into that company. You're like, whoa, like, these people are on their shit. Like, they know who's doing what, who's casting and what, who's directing what. Like, and hearing all that stuff is just like, it's intimidating at first, but it for sure was like it was such a learning curve. It was the biggest learning curve I've ever witnessed, probably in my
Did you
life.
really feel like everything was like so connected?
Oh yeah, like
when
everyone.
you went into that circle?
Yeah, everyone. That's the thing. It's odd because LA is a huge place. So many people live in LA, but when people say like everyone in LA knows everyone in LA, like, it's kind of true. Like, if you know, like, the circles are really tight.
Yeah.
You know, or like it's just like you always are gonna have a mutual. There's so many times where I've met someone and somehow we figure out that we have a mutual friend or have a mutual person we both know. Like, multiple times where I'm just like, what? Like, that's just so strange.
Whoa.
You know, but oddly enough, like, my internship was not like one of the most impactful things like for my career or like what I felt was like taught me to grow the most. Oddly enough, it was great though. But
when I always think about that, I think about like at least the connected circles of LA. I think about like Ari Gold and I think about
no,
Entourage. You told me.
It is so true.
You told me.
It's so true. Like, if y'all have seen Entourage, look, Nick put me on. It's so good. It's such a good show. It's such a funny show.
Right.
But it's all like,
Best show.
It's rooted in truth. Completely rooted in truth. Like, definitely not as like, actually probably just as extreme. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, but there's definitely levels and like different types of people that are in the industry, but it's just as intense. It's really cutthroat.
How about the gossip?
The gossip. Ooh. So the gossip in terms of like the movie film scene, I didn't really know that much about, but like I had friends that were in social circles with like the influencer community, and I would hear some tea a lot. Actually, a lot of tea. But I'm saying people talk in LA.
Because it just goes around. See, in New York City, where I'm from, like you couldn't even know what's going on in someone else's life if you tried. There's so many different people. There's so many big communities. Everyone's living their own like movie, I would say. And it's crazy to see how in LA everyone's just like, I mean, maybe people are really obsessed with themselves in that way where they're living their own life, but everyone, it seems like it's just this like, it's its own movie in its own self, right? Everyone's trying to like keep up with every single character in what's happening and what's going on.
But oddly enough, like that's the thing though. It's like in LA, like if you don't know what's happening in your industry, if you don't know what's happening with who, like not like just the petty gossip, but like if you don't know like who's about to release something, who has an album that's ready to be put out. Like if you're not on top of that, like you're not doing your job, because everyone in LA is doing something creative, doing something involving entertainment most of the time, I would say, or at least the people that I've met. And so if you're not on top of that, it's just like you're not on your game. Like everyone in LA is always on it.
Wow.
And that's why you have to keep up with everyone. That's why you have to talk about people and gossip.
And people learn more about other people than they probably should.
Yeah, and so sometimes like in LA, like if like once you get up there, maybe like I honestly feel like people use that as like a predisposed thing in their mind when they meet someone for the first time. If they've heard about them or like heard anything about them, like that's in their mind, you know. Is
it hard to escape your past in LA?
My what?
Is it hard to escape? Well, is it hard to escape one's past?
Yes and no. I think that if you don't have the push to change, or if you don't have like, if you don't show, like, I think LA is a big place of just like proving yourself and like showing that you have like, you show through your actions, not your words. You know, 'cause if you talk a lot, then everyone knows you just talk a lot.
Right.
But if you show with your actions, 100% people will see that. And I think that's what the misconception too. I think because of the internet, honestly.
And you think people can see through that? People can see authenticity if it's transparent enough.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you want to live there after?
Oh, 100%. I'm gonna live there.
When did you first get into film? When did you like first decide that film was like a thing that you loved or liked?
Should I tell an embarrassing story?
Yeah, go.
Okay. So how I got my first like introduction to like film or just like video in general, I really loved One Direction, all right, when I was in middle school, like obsessed. So I made a fan page on Instagram, and I started making like, this is at a time where like Premiere like was not a thing for like my generation yet. Like iMovie was not even a thing. Like there was no apps that were like easily just like you can like just edit. Like now like, people do like so many edits on TikTok just on their phone, you know? That was not a thing back then, okay? But I just learned how to like, I just used like different types of ways to put videos together, and I would like make these posts and I would edit videos really young. And so that was my first thing of like, oh, I really like doing this. You know, like I enjoy it. And editing is not what I want to do necessarily, but it was my first introduction to it. But
what were the type of videos you made? What was it?
It was like fan edits, basically.
Of
like,
who?
Of One Direction.
Oh, shoot, I missed that. Okay.
Yeah, I have the page still.
What was your favorite in One Direction?
Niall.
Niall?
I stick to that to this day.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. I never really got into One Direction, so I don't really know.
Then that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But after that, I for a long time was like, I'm doing STEM. Like, well, part of it is also because like everyone around me was telling that at the time too. Like all my cousins and like relatives, like they all were just like STEM people or like in some like a field like that. So I thought that I like and. Oddly enough, the reason why I wanted to get into STEM was because I watched Grey's Anatomy. I seem like a terrible film major right now. I just really like shitty. I like really like bad TV.
No, it's whatever catches you.
Right.
Whatever draws you in. Right. Yeah.
So,
no, there's no such thing as bad TV if it like. Yeah. I feel like.
Right.
The point of it is to engage you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I was engaged by Grey's Anatomy, and after I was like, ooh, I want to be a surgeon. But I like took it to the tens. Like I was a shadow in an OR when I was in high school, watching someone do laparoscopic surgery every week.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I was like hardcore in it. And there was just one day I was just sitting there, this like long surgery, it was like 3 hours long. That's not even that long, but like it was long to me. And I was just sitting there, I was like,
why were you doing that?
Because I really thought I wanted to be a surgeon. Because I was like, oh, like this is my path. Like I love STEM, but like I didn't. Like I was just telling myself that.
Right, because of Grey's Anatomy.
Because of Grey's Anatomy. And so I went to the whole 9 with it. Did all that, and there was just one day I literally was saying that I was like, I hate this. Like, I actually hate this. I don't want to do it. And after that, I told my mom, I was like, I'm like not gonna go to the OR anymore, and I'm gonna sign up for a film class. And I took a film class in junior year of high school, and I fell in love with it.
Really?
Yeah. From
the film class?
From the film class.
What was your teacher like?
The teacher I had the first year was really dope. But honestly, I don't know if it was necessarily the film class, but I think it was in the film class they would show past projects of people, and there were some talented filmmakers, and like now one of them has like made something for like National Geographic. Like people are like doing crazy stuff that went to my high school, so they went to like NYU, like crazy film schools. One of them working for Comedy Central now. Yeah, these are all people that I still talk to also, but I never knew them in high school, but I just started connecting with them because we both took this class in Warden level in my high school. That's
crazy because that story sounds like almost so cliche. Like, oh, I was in a surgeon room. Yeah, I hated that. I hated that, and now I just love film. Yeah, right. But like, what really like gives you your passion to work every day? Like, because you work so much, right? Like almost too much. Yeah. And so like, what is the voice that's going on in your head? Like when I'm not trying to do something, because people don't like when I first like tried to start making videos or anything, I sucked at it. I just procrastinated. It's not like I didn't want to do it. Right. I wanted to do it, but like I just procrastinated the hell out of it. I didn't want to learn it. I was afraid to like embark on a new thing, especially when I'm like old. It felt like I was doing stuff that like a 7-year-old should be doing, you know? Yeah. And that like took a shot at me. I felt, you know, a different type of way about that. And so it's hard. What like, you're like 16, 17 years old and you're just deciding that you want to just pursue this thing. Like, what is giving you this motivation to keep going?
I mean, still like same answer as last time. Like it was those people that I had saw that came before me, I guess, if I want to put it that way. Like seeing how dedicated that these people are to their craft is just like makes me just want to be just as dedicated and succeed just as much as them. Like for me, film being so competitive and TV and entertainment being so competitive is what pushes me. Like if I don't have someone that's ahead of me, And I'm always gonna have someone that's ahead of me, you know?
Right.
You're never gonna be in first, but like having so many people be like always like, I'm striving for the best thing, I'm striving for the best thing. Like that's a common trait among filmmakers, I would say, is like everyone's always trying to do better, trying to do more.
Right.
And I think that's what for me is like, I wanna do the most.
It's weird because as like someone that just watches TV, I don't really perceive it in that way. It doesn't seem like it's a competitive profession. Right? Like from off the top, like it just doesn't seem like when I watch stuff, it seems like, oh, that was like his just vision. He really just put it together. But really that guy's thinking like, man, this is going to be so good. This is going to be so much better than every other thing. So yeah, so you liked Grey's Anatomy, you liked One Direction, but like now what are some of the people or things that really like you look up to?
So when I was in LA, I met this woman. Her name is Agnes Masca, and Nick knows about her. I told him about her, but she is this incredible independent filmmaker. And I don't know if I necessarily want to go into independent film, but she is just a powerhouse. Like she had a crazy story that she just told me about. Like her story to me was just like, I asked her, I said, how'd you get into film? And like, how'd you start just making stuff? And she was like, I just did it. I had no background in film at all. I was just like, I kind of want to make something. She hit up a random cinematographer and was just like, I want to make this like now. And she did. And then she just kept directing just like these like obviously anyone's first is not gonna be the best, you know what I'm saying? But she just kept making it. And she is now like an incredible filmmaker, and she has so much success in what she does. And she is someone that I genuinely look up to as a person, not just as a mentor, but just as someone in the industry.
How'd you meet her?
So going back to what we were talking about earlier about like my experience in LA, I loved my internship, and I think it was really interesting to work at an agency, but I had actually had an alum that I knew through Penn State, and I knew he was in LA, documentary filmmaker, and I hit him up and I said, hey, like I'm in LA, like can we meet up for coffee or whatever? We talked, and I let him know like I want to direct, like that's what I want to do. And he said, well, I have this director friend I know, which is Agnes, that girl I was just talking about. And he was like, yeah, like she'd be a great person to talk to. I never really got to meet her after he said that for like probably like a month and a half. And he just had one day he said, oh, I'm going to be on set for this. A friend of mine, like, just can you like just come and help out? And I was like, for sure I'm coming to help out. Like, of course I'm going to come out. So I went there, and she just ended up coming up just to say hey. And so I just connected with her there, and then I followed her Instagram. She followed me on Instagram, and we started DMing. Yeah. That was it.
Connections are so important throughout that whole thing. Like, what have some of the most meaningful or impactful connections done for you? Like, what do you think has changed about you every time you meet someone new or every time you see someone new?
Yeah. Just in general or like related to film?
Well, what do you think it does to you, like internally, or with your confidence, with, you know, what you're going to achieve, what you're doing with your work? Yeah.
I think, like, above all else, I just always feel so grateful whenever I meet someone that, like, even if I don't have like a connection with, like a mutual connection with them, like every time I meet someone that's in my industry, like there's just such a sense of, like reverence, you know, like I'm just like, you have just pushed yourself so hard. Like I understand how hard you have worked. Yeah. But every time I meet someone, and especially when they're so willing and giving to be like, yeah, like come meet my friend, come meet this person. You're just like, wow, like. And honestly, I think at the end of the day, it's that, like, people are genuinely kind-hearted. There are a lot of kind-hearted people, not just in the industry, but in this world, that I think we forget about a lot. And I think it's just a matter of getting to know people and getting to know who they are and just being genuine. And I think that's what I've learned the most, is just being yourself, being genuine. Like, fake won't cut it. It won't cut it. People will see right through it every time. It's
so crazy when I'm like listening to audiobooks and doing stuff like that now, but like just people, like, I don't know, people in different positions or in different stages of their life, like, can just appear to us in like such mystical or incredible ways, right? But like they're just people that just decided to make different choices at some stages in their life than most. That's why they just have that appearance, they just have that mystique, they just have that an aura about them. It's really strange.
I had I'll tell a quick story. This is kind of like Well, this is honestly, I will say, like, that's, like, the One Direction thing, the Grey's Anatomy thing, that's kind of how I first got into it. But, like, when I was like, this is going to be my career, like, I had that moment vivid in my head. This girl who had graduated from my high school, I hadn't met her, but I knew she had made the senior video. She was, like, a president of the video club, all this stuff. But she works for Comedy Central. She came into my English class and wants to just talk about her time on, interned for SNL. So she just came to us to just talk about it. And at the end of class, she was like, and I was in senior year at this time. And she was just like, I'm working on my thesis film for NYU. And if you're interested in film, like, just email me. And I obviously shot her an email. And I was like, hey, like, I'm more than interested in being on your set. And she was like, well, you know what? Like, yeah, like, you can come on set like 1 or 2 days. I'm like, well, how long are you shooting? She was like, 2 weeks. I was like, I'm coming the full 2 weeks. And I had prom and graduation in the middle of that.
Wow.
And I said, I'm going. So I went home during prom and graduation. But anyways. So I went on that set and just, like, that was the first time I'd ever been on a real set. I've ever seen people work together like that, like, seeing how it actually is, like, how everyone gels together, how you have to communicate, just, like, the chaos of it all and the beauty of it all. And, like, and I was just doing a PA. I was just giving people water. That's all I was doing. I was just sitting, watching, giving people water, helping out whatever needed to be done, you know? But I loved every second of it. I slept on an air mattress and I loved it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't even know about it. So it was just for this girl's thesis film? What was the film about?
It was a film. It was called You and Me, Naked Boy. And it was it was like a comedy drama film about a guy that escapes prison and he ends up stuck on a sheep farm and he meets another guy that is just at the sheep farm and they form a bond, they get to know each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the moment where I was like, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And it was a huge production. It was like the coolest thing I'd ever witnessed. Like these young kids do, like they were like 22 maximum, all of them, and they were all just doing like this huge production. And like two of the producers that were on that film, they just made a feature film that I also was able to PA on because I knew them from that set. So that set brought me so many connections, like so many connections.
You hear about that so much where actors or directors or whoever, they just fall in love with like the set, the process, the whole shebang of it. I don't even know. What is being on a set like?
It's like so grueling, but it's so rewarding, and I think that's why everyone likes it so much. Like obviously every set is different and every crew is different, but if you're on a good set, like it's just incredible. And it's definitely chaotic. It's always people running around like yelling for something, figuring things out, someone telling you to be quiet, you know? But that's just how it is, you know? That's just how it is. But it's really chaotic. It's really tense. You have to shoot a certain amount by the end of the day. You can't like you're gonna mess up, but that's the thing. It's Murphy's Law, you know, like what can go wrong will go wrong. Right. But that's the cool thing about it, is like you just have to power through. It's a lot of on the fly thinking.
Yeah, it's kind of like similar. I can relate it a little bit. I don't know. I like when I'm working out or I have someone pushing me, but I like that tough love in a way. I like seeing someone's vision, or I like seeing someone's mind, and then just unapologetically feeding it to me. I don't know. Do you have like meme director experiences?
I have, I have an experience where it wasn't the director, but one of the producers was just such an asshole. Like he was the worst. Like I've never seen anyone on a set like dislike one person like that, especially on a bigger set, a bigger crew. And he was just the worst. Like for me, like I was a PA on this set and it was a big film, like big for me, you know? And it had a cast like, and she was in the Hunger Games. She was in it. I was in it. Like it was people that I was just like, whoa, like these are like names, you know? I was like, ooh.
Man.
Yeah. But, sorry. This producer, once we had some problem with like the food, so we had to run to Costco. And I remember them asking me like, well, what do you want to do in film? And I was like, I don't really know yet. I was young. I was a freshman. I was still figuring it out. I was literally first semester freshman. Still figuring it out. I have no idea yet, okay? And I was like, I don't know. I'm interested in maybe cinematography or writing. Like, I'm just not totally sure yet. And he was just like, well, do you know like camera stuff? And I was like, I know some, you know? And he just started testing me. He was like, well, what does this mean? What does this term mean? And I was like, sir, like, I am 18 years old and like I don't even know what's going on right now, and we're just going to Costco. So
yeah.
But he was just an absolute nuisance.
What do you think that is, man? Like, there's so much is made about people in Hollywood, their egos that eventually like develops, like they become like, I don't even know how to describe it, like this God, like, I don't know, mentality or figure, like they think, or at least that's what happens inside their mind. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if all that attention and love and admiration from being in movies, because really, like you said, it's just a process. It's just work. At the end of the day, people could be as talented as they want.
Yeah.
It's coming through work. It's not coming through something that's not man-made.
Yeah. And it's like there's a lot of people. That's the good thing I think about this upcoming generation of filmmakers is like we all understand how to be kind to one another, even if we know how to work together. Even if you don't like someone, you know how to work together. I think on certain sets now, there sometimes can be someone that's just a complete a-hole, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and no one likes that. Like, no one likes that at all, you know? But it's just the power complex. They have a position of power and they take advantage of it, and it sucks, but it happens.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, long story short, it's just, like, there's no film, there's no TV show, there's no podcast, it is a group effort. It is never a single person that is making it happen, ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And people should not feel like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's quite crazy.
We'll see. So what's next?
I think next for me, at least, is just like working on my own artistic eye and my own skill set and making that better, because I have a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think I've had a lot of good experiences where I have worked for other people, but I have yet to do something for myself. I've obviously made small things of my own, but like something that means a lot to me. So yeah, I mean, I just want to get more experience in the industry, meet more people. I hate using the word network because it just sounds so business and terrible. But so I just say I meet new people because it's essentially the same thing. But yeah, that's just what's next for me. And then LA. Then I'm back to LA.
Oh my, you're going back next semester.
I am going back next semester. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
Very excited. It hurts a little bit because, like I said, like I'm someone who really loves like memories a lot, and like I have a really hard I have a hard time letting go, you know, of like places, people's things. So leaving here is gonna be really tough, especially knowing that a lot of my friends and my good friends are graduating, and I won't be here for most of it. That really sucks, but in the end, I know like these people are still gonna be there, and it's for me, you know, it's for my career, it's for something that I love a lot.
Yeah, that's what makes like growing up at this age so weird and so difficult, man.
Yeah,
you don't really know. These are just people that just randomly come into your life when you're in college, and you don't really know what they mean to you, especially at this age. You don't when you're like 30, 40 years old, you could look back and be like, oh, this was the person that really meant the most to me. These are my best friends. These are, you know, I could categorize everything. I could put a label to it. But like right now, everything is just, you're experiencing it.
It's up
and you don't know what decision you should make. You don't know what means more to you. You don't know what means less to you.
Yeah.
You just have to go along and just do stuff.
And I think that like it's just a huge ode to like how like strong a lot of college students are. You know what I'm saying? I don't think a lot of like college students give themselves enough credit.
There's so much you have to do now, man.
Yeah, there's a lot you have to do now.
I think when our parents were growing up and everything they were going through, it's not like it didn't present its own challenges, but the pressure that's on you today to just, you know, from when you're like 18 on, just be on your grind. Yeah. Keep doing your thing, you know? And you lose track of like
who you are
and what's really like important throughout this whole period.
It's 100%. And it's like, it's hard, especially when it's like, that's what you've been conditioned to like do your whole life. It's like work to get to the certain point. But there's a certain like, burnout is huge among college students. Like I've faced so much burnout throughout my time, but like I think with like doing so much also comes learning how, like it has to come with it, is learning how to balance yourself and not overwork yourself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that is a big thing for me this year, is just not overworking myself, being like okay and convincing myself that I'm doing enough. You know? Like know that you're doing enough.
It's so crazy. I felt like ever since I entered into school, there's been no period of time where I've just had the encouragement or the, freedom to just like be social, to have those things, to, explore all of that. There's never been a time where, the system around me encourages like, no, you should be social and you should do what you're really thinking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. My whole life, I have been thinking about social interactions up until my age and up until this point. I don't really care about my career like that. I don't know. It's so weird. And
your focus.
We try to treat children like they're not, just these social beings that are trying to like learn all this first.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's so strange. It's just like we force ourselves, I think, from a really young age to act like adults, and I just think that there's definitely should be a period of time where you just enjoy yourself and enjoy your life. And I know there's a bunch of people that are just really dedicated to what they do, and if you love it, then that's incredible. I think good for you, like I applaud you. But
absolutely,
there's another component where it's like if you don't like it, if you feel just so like overworked, overwhelmed, and just step back.
Yeah, there should be nothing wrong with just trying to figure your stuff out, man. Figure everything out, like.
Why is society make it so bad to figure your stuff out? It's so strange.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's so strange. It's just like everyone has their own, everyone progresses at their own speed, at their own time.
Yeah.
And that's what people have to realize.
And we don't realize that like when we're in like 6th to 8th grade or whatever, all we're thinking about is like what is going on with these kids around me? Like, who is this? Do I like her? Do I not? Like, what is all this?
And there's something so pure about that.
Yeah.
It's so pure. Like, it's just it's truly simpler times, and honestly, ignorance is bliss.
One thing I saw like in this documentary we had to watch for school, it was about like this Native American tribe growing up, and one guy was discussing the differences, at least between the tribe and like the education system in America, because Native Americans were like forced to go to American schools, and so his biggest problem was that the kids were being taught that they had to do better than their peers and they had to excel and be the best of their group instead of being incentivized to bring the whole group with them.
Right. And
graduate together.
We have a very individualistic mindset these days.
And think about how that affects everything, man.
It affects everything because ultimately in life, like no matter what ever field you're working in or who you're associated with, everything is a group effort. Like, I guess there's certain things where you can start on your own, but like if you want to actually excel and succeed, it's like it's always going to be a group effort, no matter what.
And why should you want to be the best, man?
Right.
People just put a label on that so much. Like we debate, we have contests for every single freaking thing in life.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Things that aren't even like a competitive thing, we just have contests for because we need to know who's the best. It's so pointless.
It is really pointless, and I think part of that is just about like innate human nature of just like a competitiveness, a drive to just be like, But I think ultimately to get to that point where you're actually like feel, because you're always gonna want to push for more, but that should come from you, not from anyone else, from no one else. Like you can't. I think it's good to have people, obviously, like I said, like that push you, but like ultimately, like for me, like I want to get better because I also want to get to that point that they're at.
Right.
It's not because I'm like, oh, like they actually are terrible and I can do better than that. Like that's a terrible mindset to go into that with.
Right.
That's awful. Like you're not going to get to that point that you're going to get at unless you actually want to do it yourself.
Yeah, and also now when I'm just going to use the example of athletes like Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, when they're so successful at such a young age, like 22, 23, they're already like some of the greatest, in Simone Biles' case, the greatest female athlete to ever grace the planet Earth. And she's like 22.
Yeah.
Like Tom Brady just reached that accomplishment at like 40. Right? That's completely different times in their life. Right. But they already reached that point and they think that they're not defined as anything else other than their accomplishments.
Right.
That's all they are as a human being, which is crazy.
Yeah, which is
we don't value people for like who they really are as people. We value them for like what you do.
And I think that's what sometimes makes it really scary about the internet. And it's just a part of our lives now. But it's just like when you just see someone through a screen, but you're only hearing about certain things about that person, obviously, like all you can think about is that is what defines that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to even escape that. And it's hard for like, even, and I bet both of us do the same thing all the time. We still think the same way too. You know, sometimes like we find ourselves in the loop.
Oh, completely, bro. Oh, yeah.
Did someone say Jason Tatum?
Ooh.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's silly. It's really silly. But
yeah,
I feel like becoming aware of that is growth in itself. You know?
I definitely feel that. Do you ever like talk to your parents about some stuff? Like you just complain about school or you complain about something and he's like, oh, yo, you should see the education system in China.
No.
You should see what they got over there. Like,
oh my God. That is the other thing. It's like, I come from immigrant parents. And so like, and their stories are absolutely incredible. They're
oh my God.
insane.
Your parents' story. We should talk about that in a second.
Yeah, we will. But my parents have incredible stories. But like, for a long time for me, I was just like, that really, I wouldn't even say it encouraged me. I think it just put a lot of pressure on me that did not have to be there. But eventually my mindset changed where it was more like, I knew like I'm living in a different time. I'm living in a different place.
Yeah.
Like their experiences versus my experience, we just have different experiences, and their hardships were way different than mine. But I don't let it necessarily take me down or like make me think like I shouldn't feel this way, because we all have feelings. You know, that's just human. That's human nature. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so weird to think about.
It's really strange to think about.
It's hard to, I bet with that whole immigrant parents pressure, like it's really hard to just like see yourself or just view your own path completely unobstructed by any other things, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to just be like, okay, let me just focus on me. I'm doing this just for me. Even though my parents did everything and anything and their whole lives were just to get me on this earth for more hope. Possibly at one point, you know, I'm this is just my thing. And that's the only way you can take that next step and go forward.
Exactly. I think like you have to let it influence you or impact you in a way that doesn't set you back and doesn't like take down what you think of yourself. Because I think like if like for me, like a big thing that also pushes me is like thinking about my family back in Vietnam, and then like that's like they think it's so cool what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, whoa, like that's so cool. And just like to have them to know that these people that are across the entire country, we have a language barrier, and they still believe in me. They still they have their own lives too, but they still support me. You know,
Crazy.
And I support them in whatever they're doing too. And it's just that we live different lives, and that's okay.
So what is your immigrant parent story? This is getting into it. Sorry, seriously, bro.
Okay, well, I'll start with my dad because my dad's story is crazy.
Okay.
Well, I'll give you some backstory on his life really fast, but he when he was really young, can I get like a little graphic?
Okay, let's go.
Okay. So basically, when my dad was, I think he was maybe like 9 or 10.
Okay.
His mom got murdered.
Oof.
And
at 9 or 10?
Yeah. Oh. And he grew up with total at one point it was 8 siblings. Now it's less, but at this time, basically what happened was they went to this like side of the river market because they needed rice. It was him, his brother, one of his brothers, and my grandpa and the mom. My grandma goes up to buy rice. She like kind of goes too far down for them to see her anymore. So, they wait all night. She doesn't come back. They're like, well, they knew the area. So they're like, maybe she just stayed with a friend and it was too dark, whatever. They go home for a little bit. Also at the time, I guess it just wasn't that concerning when people were like, just didn't come home, you know? But just because like you just assume like, oh, like, they'll come home eventually, you know, whatever. They come back a week later when they just hear nothing. And they bring a picture of her and they start asking around, like, have you seen this woman? Have you seen this woman? And this one lady's like, oh, like, yeah, like she's in the field. And they're like, what? And so they go to the field and she was dead. She got murdered.
Oh my God.
And
they don't know how?
No. I think she was like beat somehow. But basically, well, I'll kind of fast forward and then go back. But at the time, like murder was just like not a thing like in this area of Vietnam, right? And so this was still like around like when the communists are still there, but this was like when it was after Vietnam War, but it was like, you know, heavy communist. But the men who had murdered my grandma was kind of on the other side, and everyone else in the town was like kind of on the other side. Like majority of the town was like kind of against that, but no one could do anything about it because it's just like, what are you gonna do, you know? But it was such a big thing that had happened in that town that my dad, without me and my mom, it was I think probably like 7 or 8 years ago now. He went back to Vietnam to visit my grandpa, and during that trip, he went back to the town, and they knew the name of the guy who had murdered her just because they asked around. Obviously, when it happened. But my dad went back and he asked around the town. He was like, do you know who this man is? And at this point, through like a couple generations have passed, you know? So he was like talking to like grandkids of people. And they were like, and so all of them, a lot of them were like, oh, like my grandma told me that story. Or like, oh my God, like, yeah, like I've heard of this story.
So it was like a myth. It was
yeah. And isn't that crazy?
Shoot.
And the thing is, he was still alive. And my dad said, like, where does he live? And so my dad met the man who murdered his mom.
Oh, my God.
And he sat down with him, talked to him, and gave him money and left.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I need to talk to your dad.
You know, you have to talk to my dad. It's crazy. His life is crazy.
I don't know if I could ever be that, like, at peace with my own life or situation to give money to the person that murdered my mom. So I'm just asking.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm just asking if you know, like, okay, so was that gesture in a way because your dad thought like maybe this man is troubled, like maybe this?
I think so my dad is very religious, and I think a big thing in his life is forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so I think and also like this area of Vietnam is it's like not the most wealthy, you know, in any capacity, and he was old. So I think in my dad's heart, he was like, I mean, I can't really do anything besides like help him out a little bit and give him money. And he literally just sat down and talked to him. He didn't say that he was the son of the woman he murdered. He didn't say anything about it. He just talked to him.
That must have been like low key, like the most empowering thing.
It was
you
probably
could do
so surreal
to like really forgive like that.
Yeah.
In the most dramatic and crazy way possible.
Yeah.
So
that's only a portion of it too. That's just like the beginning of his life.
Oh my!
Crazy.
And yeah, he had a whole journey from Vietnam to the United States.
He didn't know that he was escaping when it happened.
How old was he?
I think he was 12 or 11.
Oh my God.
So, do you want to tell the story about how?
Okay, sure, yeah.
So, like I said, he had a lot of siblings, and my eldest uncle, he and my grandpa were kind of discussing like because at this time it was like the communists were just getting bad. Like my grandpa just got he got taken to like prison for like 2 years. No one knew where he was. They all thought he died. He just came home one day and was like, hey, I'm back.
What?
Yeah, crazy stuff. And so my uncle one day just came up to my dad and I think it was my dad and 2 of his brothers. And my dad had no idea what was going on. He was so young. And my uncle just came up to them and was like, go to the market and follow the man with the chicken. Fully. And my dad they all go, okay.
Oh my God.
So they go to this market and they find this man with the chicken. They probably gave more details than that, but anyways, they follow this man with the chicken. They all go onto this boat. And the guy's like, okay, lay down. And there was a lot. This is a small boat with at least I think it was probably 15, 20 people on it, but cramped. And so what had happened was that how my dad escaped was that he was on this boat and there's a canal essentially that goes out into the ocean, but there's guards. There's communist guards that are
guarding the ocean.
Guarding the ocean, also making sure that any boat that goes out doesn't have any people on it, you know,
right,
to get out or escape. So they had paid off the guard for that specific time slot, where that boat would go through. But when the boat was trying to pass through, the tide was too low. And so it wouldn't go through. And so my dad told me that he was lying there and just looking up. He was so confused. He was just going along with it. I don't know. I guess that's just how young brains work, you know?
Yeah.
You're child, you don't know what's going on. But he told me that he was looking up, from hiding underneath these floorboards in the boat, in this tiny, tiny boat. And in Vietnam, or in this area, at least the buildings were higher up because the water rises and whatever fluctuates. Because he was looking up and he saw my uncle looking down at the boat, making sure it would go through. And that's when he knew he was oh, I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Crazy, right? And then on his journey, and eventually they got through. They got the tide rose and they got through. But while he was at sea, they got attacked and robbed by Thai pirates 3 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. And to think this is just like the story of like one generation prior to us.
Someone that you met.
And now
someone that you have met. This is someone that you've met before.
And now our stories are just like when we were growing up. Like, oh, Timmy was like my best friend in elementary school. He's been my homie for my whole life.
Yeah. It's like,
that's pretty much it. Right? Like, that's all I get to. Like, that's
like, I liked One Direction.
Yeah.
Hey. It's like nothing compared to it at all.
What the hell is the world gonna look like when we're like 50, 60, bro? Like that much has changed. Like we're going from being on boats, getting attacked by pirates,
seconds,
to like now we got like Teslas.
We got electric cars that drive themselves. Yeah, and it's so strange sometimes to like look at my parents and like actually remember that happened to them. You know?
Yeah.
It's just wild. Like it's crazy. My uncle actually, the only source of like money that they had, like besides like their clothes, I guess, was this gold ring that one of my dad's brothers brought. And so when the first pirates came, they just took all like everyone's like money essentially, or like anything that was of value.
Yeah.
And so obviously that was the only thing they had. So they're like, well, we have to do something with it. And so my uncle stuck up his butt, and it worked. Obviously, like
they still have it.
They used it, like they exchanged it for like money.
Oh wow.
Yeah. The second time they took all their food. My dad told me that all they had for water was like a bucket of water, and like by the end of the trip, it was just like a layer of dirt on the bottom, and that's what they would drink it. Like, what else you got to do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these stories, they can help us. They can help us give so much appreciation for what we have. Find so much gratitude every day when we wake up. But they also, like we were saying, like, man, that must feel like the weight of the world on your shoulders every day. Like, I have to get my stuff done.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was on a boat when he was 10 years old after his mom died.
Crazy.
Just so I could like make films because I want to do it.
Yeah. And the thing is, the crazy thing is like that though is like kind of a blessing where it's like I get the opportunity to do that. I have the chance to do that. Like I get to do that. I'm doing it now. And it's like I wouldn't be able to do that unless my parents had done that too. And it's just the life I live now, like it's just because of a chain reaction that happened.
Yeah. And at the same time, I feel like because we have all this stuff though, like your parents, this is why I think there's difficulties there's different challenges in either side of the spectrum. Like your parents, they probably had no other option, you know? It was life or death.
Yeah.
Pretty much. There was no choice.
Yeah.
Now when we're faced with decisions and there's really no other way for us to be happy or no other way for us to escape other than changing and being better and working harder, we have an option to just let that consume us.
Right.
A lot of us do.
Yeah.
And I see it happening a lot with so many people around me.
And I mean, I feel like we've all let that happen at some point
completely.
in our lives. It's just the fight to get out of it. It's what's really tough. And it like, there's no point in comparing, like, your life to someone, like, your hardships to someone else's, because we all have different hardships, you know? Like,
completely.
You just have to be grateful for what you got, you know? And that's kind of the end of it. And being grateful doesn't mean comparing you to someone else to feel grateful.
Yeah, it does not make it easier to be, like, grateful for every little thing in your life when you go on social media and you see everyone's freaking highlight reel all the time. It's so hard, you know? Like, it's like, damn, my life sucks.
Yeah.
Nah, man.
No.
You got it, bro. You can trust me. My dad... My dad had to ride on a boat. Yeah. Like, just to make it to this country. He didn't even know if he was going to get here. That's crazy, man.
And it was just fate. It was just chance.
I don't even want to maybe ask about your mom. Was hers like just as crazy?
Hers was also crazy. She also got attacked by pirates too, but but her story was a little bit different.
What?
Like it wasn't as like, I think she knew she was escaping, but my mom, I think she told me that like the most intense part of the whole thing was well, they landed in Malaysia first, and they had to dock the boat and live on the boat for like 2 days, like without any food, water, or anything, because they wouldn't let the refugees in because there had just been too many. So they had to just live on the boat. Eventually they let them in. But my mom said that it was fully like the Hunger Games, where every morning they would announce who had died that day. So you knew if like your relative died or if someone was there that you knew that died.
How? Do you know?
What do you mean?
How would they announce who died? Like, what was their form of communication?
Like loudspeakers, like yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like it was like scary. Like my mom said that was like the worst time of her life ever, and I think somehow they found a connection to Norway somehow. I don't remember the details of the story, but they ended up being able to fly over to Norway. So my mom was like 13 at the time, young. So she like took care of her younger sister, and they just raised themselves in Norway, and they knew no languages. They came from Malaysia, and Norway is a cold country, and they had no idea how to adjust to anything. So my mom just put herself into school, put herself to work, and went to America for college, and she just completely grew up in Norway. And all my family's in Norway. On my mom's side.
What? Norway?
They all, because when my mom and her sister and her other sister were in Norway, somehow that's the craziest part. I don't know how they all got reconnected back to their families.
Yeah.
That's the craziest part. Thank you, technology.
Yeah.
But my mom, they all got in contact with their family in Norway, and they all moved over. So now all of my immediate family on my mom's side lives in Norway.
Oh my God. Have you seen that family?
Yeah.
What are they like?
They're dope. They're really cool. Yeah, it's cool to have cousins everywhere. Like I have cousins all around. I have cousins in France. I have cousins in Vietnam. I have cousins in Norway. It's crazy.
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
So yeah, just because they all escaped and ended up in different places.
And they, so they're all like of Asian heritage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but all like the grandchildren for the most part are born in not Vietnam. Besides my dad's side. My dad's side's all in Vietnam, basically.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that we like, I don't know, people still have these opinions of just like what their country should look like. Bro, really?
Yeah.
Seriously, if you just listen to that, like, I don't know.
I think, there's just like a certain, I think every country has its own problems, like, and we have problems for sure. But you know, it's just like, it's a matter of thinking about what is happening outside of our bubble. There's a lot going on outside of our bubble that we just don't look at, and it makes us not appreciate what we have. And that's not to say that that we shouldn't fight for what we believe in, or we shouldn't fight for whatever. And like, it's just like, you have to also, at the same time as doing that, be so grateful for everything else.
Absolutely.
Be so grateful for everything else, because there's a lot of people in the world that don't have. I like the fact that I'm sitting in a chair right now. Like that's even crazy.
Whoa.
That's even crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you gotta put don't always put yourself first. I think humility is a big thing that's missing right now. I mean, a lot of humility in this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. Man, what the hell are our kids gonna be like?
That's what I literally look. I feel like our generation. We can talk about this now, but I don't. If you want to.
Yeah, let's go.
I feel like our generation is not gonna have we're gonna have a lower birth rate than other generations.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. I know so many people that don't plan on having kids. Maybe things change, but like right now, I know a lot of people that.
It's weird. It feels like technology is slowly like taking over human beings in like the weirdest way. I don't know how to describe that, but like in every single aspect, humans are not enjoying living human life.
Yeah, and I think it's something that is definitely something that I think a lot of people have slowly become to realize though, and that's why people are trying to better themselves a lot more now. But I think it's something that we can't avoid, which maybe sucks, but I think if you use it in the right ways, if you use it in ways that help you become a better person and understand your world better, then I think that's like the whole point of technology, you know? It's to better our world in a way that is beneficial to us. And it just depends on how you approach it and how you use it. It's I think people don't realize how many decisions they make in a day. You make so many decisions in one day.
Crazy.
So many.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like, yeah, it's really up to communication. I feel like communication is the biggest thing. How we're communicating with each other, I think is the most destructive thing. Like I'm learning about this in all my classes and stuff, but yeah, communication really just influences everything that's happening around us.
Yeah.
What people think, what people perceive, it's all controllable.
It's 100, and that's the craziest part.
Yeah.
Is that it's all definitely controllable. And there's obviously things that are not in your control, but like the way you talk about someone, the way you approach someone, like that can, like, everyone has definitely had an interaction. I literally had one last week where it just ruined my whole day. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, that is just like bad communication, like on a human level, and that's okay, and it happens. But it's just like it's so powerful.
Yeah,
so powerful how you say things.
And to people, if they made it to this point in the podcast, right? They probably listened, and to people that are like down bad or going through our age and are struggling and don't know where to go in school or anything, they probably listened to the beginning of this podcast and they were just like, oh damn, like, oh, she's in all these films, doing all these things, right? Like, oh, so typical, a kid doing all that stuff, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
Everything is all really like the same concept, the same construct.
Oh, sorry.
The same. Oh no, that's my fault. The same way negative things are occurring, positives can occur in the complete other way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a good description of it.
I think I just said yeah, but
general, yeah.
But I don't know. I think I know what you're saying. Like, we just, because no matter who is doing what, like, at our very core, we're just human.
Ooh, word.
We're just fully, like, we think, like, we all feel the same things. We just don't know that we all feel the same thing.
Yeah, the same way you can bring yourself down is the same way you can turn yourself around. Right.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like, and I'm someone who, and I even have trouble admitting that. I have trouble. Like, it makes sense in my head, but like actually feeling it and living it is just 10 times harder.
Yeah, and to go through life thinking that people aren't just as hurt as you, or you know, or are of a different breed or mindset, or just different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thing, like, I don't know, they're blessed, they're lucky, they're this, they're that. Every excuse you can make for why you want to feel worse about yourself. That's what people need to escape. They need to escape this victim mentality, because that's what's consuming everyone around me, I feel like.
And it's just like, I think it's just because we've gotten so used to it, just so used to feeling so bad for ourselves. And not to say that you can't have things that make you feel down. And obviously everyone has trauma, everyone has things that they've gone through. But ultimately it's like, you have the choice to make yourself happy. You have the choice to feel good about what you're doing, about how you're living your life. And it's just, you have to start being conscious of the decisions you make. All these decisions you make every day, be so conscious of it. Yeah. Man, that's a hard thing to do. That's a really hard thing to do.
Absolutely. Because when you're making conscious decisions, you're making better decisions.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. There's so, like, cause we are just so conditioned to think certain ways sometimes and react certain ways sometimes that it's just like we do it without even realizing it. Yeah. You know? We just
and that's what's weird about like Instagram and stuff. Like, I find myself just like the phone, boop, boop. Like, I know it's like right there. And sometimes I'll X out of Instagram. I'll swipe one to the left. I'll swipe back, and then I'll be like, oh, Instagram.
No,
I'll go straight right on it.
Exactly. Have you seen this? We watched it together, The Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
Ooh. If y'all have not watched it, watch it.
Yeah, that's
an incredible documentary.
Absolutely.
About social media. Oh my God. But that's like, no, sometimes if my phone dies, I'll find myself pulling it out of my pocket and turning it on, like trying to swipe up. I'm like, for what? It's dead. But it's just like, my fingers are it's scary.
Oh my God.
It's an addiction. It is an addiction, fully. But it's about self-control.
I don't know how we solved this though.
But that's the thing, is just like, there's no single person that can solve it. It's just something that it's just like, we all are collectively going through it, and it's certain individuals that make changes in their own lives that can solve it for themselves. You can't solve it for anyone else but yourself. Yeah. Which sucks sometimes, you know, because it's everything, like we said, like, you want to have a group effort, but ultimately, like, there's no shot that we can change how the whole population of the world thinks.
You know a show I've been watching?
What show?
The show I've been watching it with Ryan is called Alone.
Alone? Is it a survival show?
Yeah.
My dad loves Alone.
I'm sure your dad freaking loves that.
My dad wants to go on Alone so bad.
What?
Yes, he thinks he would do so well.
Oh yeah, I think he would kill it.
He loves stuff like that. But I watched a couple episodes. I know Alone.
Dude, that stuff makes me like so freaking great. Like, damn, I'm like, I'm looking at myself like, I don't even feel worthy, man. Yeah. But it makes complete sense why people just live till they were like 12 years old, probably. And I think we just have like, what that show has really like shown me is like, we see our social norms and our social behaviors and the way we interact are so irrelevant. Like, it's so stupid when, like, I was just picturing, like, man, there was people that just had to do that.
Yeah.
Just had to, like, build a fire, and that's the only way they could stay warm at night. That had to just, like, find somewhere to hide themselves off from animals all in the forest all the time. I was like, dude, that was only, like, a few people ago.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't even, like, that long ago, and it's just like, oh, my God.
When you think about how fast, and that's the crazy part, I think, is a lot of people don't realize, like, in the grand scheme of the universe and of Earth, like so much is changing so fast. So think about like how the 70s were, how the 50s were. That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
No, that was not that long ago.
And you sit like down in your boring ass life, and like time could not even be moving slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. Like that is, it's so crazy and it's so strange. But it's a good thing to think about. It's a good thing, a narrative to have in your mind. You know?
100%.
Makes you more conscious of what's going on around you.
Completely. Well, Kat, I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, I'll see you around.
I'll literally see you tomorrow, probably.
I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys for staying tuned for this episode. We'll make more in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments. And peace. Goodbye.